You look like you're starting to get pregnant, are you?
No.
And why does it look like you are?
You fat bitch!
I'm pretty sure I just got conned by this British guy on our first date. So the date was at a park and it has this beautiful view of Sydney Harbour. And he suggested that we should order food and get it delivered to the park. So here I was thinking, that's wholesome. And he whips out his phone, brings up Uber Eats, and says that I can pick whatever cuisine and he'll pick what's on the menu. And we pick our food, create the order, and then he goes to pay. Because I'm polite, with my peripheral vision, I can see that an error message keeps popping up. And it said payment options. And at the time, I didn't know what it meant, but now I've Googled it and it actually means that the payment method is invalid, unavailable, or has not been set up. So on the date, I was like, hey, is everything okay? I'm happy to pay for it. And he was like, this is just so strange. I don't know why this is happening. I definitely have money. I wouldn't go on a date without any money. And I was like, no, like, it's fine. You know, I've got it. I'll pay for it. And he was like, I've got the next one. I've got the next one. And I was like, okay. So I put the order through, the food gets delivered to the park, and then as soon as he's finished eating, he gets up abruptly and is like, I need to go home, I need to wake up early, and I need to leave right now. And I was like, okay, no worries. And then we're about to part ways, and I was like, hey, let me know when you get home. And he was like, yeah, you too. So I walk home. 10 minutes later, I open up Hinge and he's unmatched me.
You dumb bitch.
I think I might die alone, but here's why I'm okay with it. I've basically been single for 27 years, and over that time, I've become super independent and happy and proud of the life I created for myself. I've done everything I wanted to do. I went to grad school, I traveled across the country, I moved to the city I wanted to move to, I got the dog that I wanted. But along the way, I built up a lot of walls and probably became a bit selfish and callous. So much so that I find it very difficult to allow someone to even have the opportunity to prove if they could make me happier than I make myself. Maybe I'm broken, but at least I'm happy.
Lying bitch.
I'm sure I'll delete this, but I recently got, as my therapist would say, duped. Also, as she would say, I duped myself. Became entangled with someone whose intentions I thought were something different than they were. So, like, I'm 30, right? Situations like this hold weight because I've been through it so many times before. I just have all of this, like, accumulated trauma. And I'm at an age where I feel like I'm running out of time to meet somebody to have children. I've done all of this work, and the way that this situation happened was just like evidence that you can do so much work, but some things are just out of your hands. Some people will still be very deceptive, and it has nothing to do with you. But anyways, true to my typical form, I was trying to take responsibility for my role in the equation, and so I reached out to a friend who's a man, and I asked, from your perspective, is there something that I could do differently to not be recurrently duped in this same way? Like, what about me specifically makes men want to behave deceptively, to smash? Like, my point here is that I would smash willingly. In this case, there was no trickery required, but the person was still dishonest. And that's the part that I cannot figure out. Like, what is it about my energy that invites the duping specifically? And I should have known before I asked, but this guy's answer was, the reason that you get duped is because you try to appeal to the male gaze. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even wear makeup. He said, you appeal to the male gaze by getting Botox. And the thing he was referring to is that I got my 11s done a few months ago. It's something that makes me feel insecurely. They appeared while I was working in this like horribly toxic job in healthcare during the pandemic. So the Botox is something that I wanted to do for myself. Whatever, I don't have to defend it. But as soon as he said that, I was like, all right, this is a dipshit conversation that I'm ending right here. And then I realized the truth that I always come back to, which is that if you ask any man that question, he's just going to give you some projection of his own idea of what women should be, which is to say that when a man takes advantage of you in whatever way, there's nothing that you could have done to prevent it. It is not your fault. It's a conditioned and systemic dynamic. As a society, we traumatize girls, women, and then we pathologize their trauma. There's nothing you can do to protect yourself from the destruction of men. And that's why spaces like this are so sacred, where we can all talk to each other and remind each other that this destruction and this pain is not our fault.
Shut up, bitch! Imagine if a guy asked her that on a first date. She would get massively offended and never speak to the guy ever again. Then she would probably make a TikTok about it.
Facts.
Now she knows what it feels like to be used for food dates. Women do this to men on a regular basis, like it's normal. But when a man does it, it means he's a con man or a swindler. Funny how women are not called the same thing when they do it.
Yeah, man, you're right. It's a double standard.
How can you be broken and happy at the same time? Or is she happy about being broken?
Nobody knows.
She is 30, the eggs are only useful for scrambled eggs on toast. She is running out of time to have a child, and she claims she would smash willingly if a guy asked. We know this is not true, because whenever a guy is honest about his intentions to smash, they always say no. She admitted to getting Botox to make herself better looking, but apparently she did it for herself and is wondering why, as a result, men might become more attracted to her and want to pump and dump. But of course, men are to blame for all of this. It's nothing to do with the fact these selective 304s are not open to smashing, and it also has nothing to do with altering her appearance, which appeals to the male gaze. There's no personal responsibility taken here whatsoever.
Not surprised.
Real men of genius.